All right, cockers. Right, I'm just bringing up my little notes. We need to talk about Terry, don't we? I'm knocking my table all over. I do apologise. Want to talk about Terry Bakes. I keep getting asked, what do I think? What I think is that a level-headed, practical discussion needs to be had in the UK cake community. I have no interest in adding fuel to a fire that is burning quite well on its own anyway, right? Terry's reality right now and that of his family, they're in a proper shit situation, right? And yeah, it is admitted it's of his own doing. He has fucked up. But I'm not here to Terry bash. I'm here to educate you on how not to end up in such a situation, but also about what he did, what he's done well, right? Bear with me. I know it's an emotional subject, but I do want to get level-headed about it. As a baking business coach, I want to treat this whole story scenario as a learning opportunity for you guys, for my students, because Terry's had a lot of attention and a lot of orders for a very long time now. It's very tempting to want to replicate what he achieved before things went titties up, right? He's a bold character. We should embrace that. He's managed to create this chaotic and controversial platform that gave him a really quick growing business, which is enviable, right? But he rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. Sometimes just for stupid reasons like daring to speak with an impediment or use baking spread, and sometimes it was justified. We'll talk about the finger video and the way that he handled negative reviews, right? What we all need to realise is that a lot of home bakers, and that's all Terry Watty were, a home baker, right? A lot of home bakers don't have any proper customer service training, let alone business management experience, or even know about, consumer law or rules around monetizing social media, right? Terry could have done with some social media training because he got so big. He might have even needed a professional manager. He loved to poke the bear, but as we've seen, multiple times in the past, and I feel like someone should have advised him on this, these big characters attract trolls and haters and sad bastards that will do a lot more than just comment negatively on your videos. Some of the things that have happened to him are disgusting, like other businesses being threatened with boycotts just for supplying him. Or I think there were a guy that were going to rent him a kitchen or something, and people were threatening to not use that guy's business. All they were doing were renting him a kitchen, to help him to fulfill his orders. So everyone's had their opinion right now, and instead of pointing fingers, what we as a baking community need to think is, thank fuck that didn't happen to me. Yeah. Because as I've said, a lot of you don't know about consumer law. Sometimes we spend the whole business pot rather than separating out our earnings from it. So what can we learn from this? As a business coach, I don't want to see anybody else get into this sort of situation. There are lessons on both sides of the balance, right? How to build an enormous following, but also why having an enormous following doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a successful and sustainable business. Right. First of all, I'm going to give credit where it is due. Something that Terry did very, very well. He understood something a lot of small businesses don't quite grasp, and that's that people don't just follow photos of cake, they follow people. People buy from people. I did a full video about that ages ago. And Terry Bakes built a very strong personality brand around his business, right? Humour, opinion, behind the scenes stuff, realities of running a bakery, the chaos, the storytelling. That's what makes people engage, and that is what you want. There's millions of pictures of cake on the internet, but what will make your cake stand out is the person making it. So show us it all, just like Terry did. Show us when you've got blue fingers and airbrush nostrils. Tell us that you've just spent 3 hours making this thing and you know it's going to be demolished in 7 seconds. What have you learned? What are you working on? Why do you love this product? Why do you hate making drip cakes but still make them? What have you cocked up? Because people buy from businesses that they know and like and trust. That is how Terry got overbooked. The people who bought from him had got to know him, they liked him, and that built trust over time. But here is where it gets interesting, and this is where I think there is a really important lesson for other baking businesses. You can be brilliant at getting attention. Attention gets you orders, but you might well still have a business that is not making money. You're not in control of it and it's burning you out. If something goes viral and the orders suddenly start flying in, you think you've made it because this pile of money's landed in your bank account. What has actually landed is a pile of work for yourself, and this is where we need to have a chat about capacity. Because let's face it, this was Terry's issue, and this is the issue he's standing at now. Is that he's got this backlog that he cannot clear because there's no money to buy the ingredients. So if you know you can comfortably make 50 treat boxes every week, you've got your systems in place to create that. You know how long it's going to take you. You know what you need to buy in to stock up to make that happen. But then one of your videos goes randomly viral and suddenly you've got 500 orders on your website because you've never needed to set a limit on your website before. Can you make them 500 orders? Because if you can't, that viral post that we all wanted could be the worst thing that happened to your business. You've taken that money, you've created that expectation, you've created an urgent deadline for yourself, but your capacity is your capacity. And that's what I want you to take away from this, that you need to stay in control of everything. Your capacity won't increase because you've got more followers. You're going to either need to increase your capacity somehow and fast, reduce your product range, increase your lead time, or limit your orders to what you know you can achieve. There's nothing wrong with saying you're sold out. I regularly I don't even take orders now. I bake what I can and sell what I've got, and when it's gone, it's gone. The most professional thing you can do is to not be afraid to close your order book when you need to. Don't be afraid to lose a customer because you might end up taking their money and not be able to fulfill. And that's not going to lose you that one customer. It's going to lose you a lot of potential customers when the word spreads. So I've got a whole course on customer service on my YouTube, right? But the essential gist of it is that customer service is a large part of the product. You're not just selling a cake. It's a whole customer experience. Did they understand what they were ordering? Did they know when it would come in? Did it arrive when you said it would? Some people ordered from Terry when it was a 10-week wait. And then by the time that 10 weeks came up, it might have been a 16-week wait. At that point, the statutory customer contract was broken by him and it should have been a refund. What about his other common complaints that were probably caused by taking too much on, like, was it packaged properly? Was it what the customer expected? Did they know how to contact you if there was a problem? If something does go wrong, how do you deal with it? Things do go wrong. Couriers lose parcels, boxes get damaged, you misread something, you put the wrong sticker on something. It can happen. The mark of a good business isn't that nothing ever goes wrong, it's how you deal with it. Don't argue with your customers on a public forum, right? If they're not happy, they've got a right to voice that, whether you think they're right or not. It's so easy because, and this is with Terry, it's such a personal brand. They're not complaining about you as a human being. They're complaining about something they paid your business for and weren't happy with. Your first thought shouldn't be, how can I prove this person wrong? It should be, is there something here that I need to learn from? Sometimes answer will be no. Sometimes you've got a knobhead in your inbox, but sometimes they might be telling you something that you need to hear. Right. Another takeaway, your followers are not your business. You can have 1 million followers. You can still have a business that's not sustainable or successful. Followers are not attention. Followers are attention. They're not profit. They're not production and delivery systems. They're not stock control. They're not bookkeeping. They're not customer service. So what can we learn, right? I'm going to split it down. Lesson 1, build that personal brand. Let people see you. Let them see all the ins and outs. Your personality is always an advantage. So number 2, entertain them and educate them. You aren't going to constantly sell. Give them something that's worth watching and your bakes will sell themselves. Make them laugh, teach them something, tell them a story, build up that know, like and trust factor. Then occasionally do a sales post. Lesson 3, don't let your social media outgrow your business. If you suddenly get a massive following, that is brilliant. But you then need to ask yourself, how can I adjust my business to cope with this? You've got to increase your capacity or you've got to close your order book, basically. So lesson 4 is know your numbers and know your capacity. What is your maximum weekly output that you can make? How long does that take you? And how much profit are you making on that? Because you need to be making your desired weekly wage from that if you're working flat out. Lesson 5, have a plan for when things go wrong, right? You need to know about consumer law. I've got a free consumer law course on my YouTube. I'll put the link in the caption for this. Also, don't spend all the money that you get in. It needs to go back into the business. It needs to buy your stock. It needs to pay your bills. But finally, the lesson that is particularly important for home bakers is do not confuse being busy with being successful. You might be working 70-hour weeks, but if you're working 70-hour weeks at £3 an hour, and I've been there, your business is not successful. Success is having a business that makes you money, that you can actually cope with and run, that don't have you crying in your kitchen at 11 o'clock at night, and it gives your customers a really good experience, because that is what sustains you. That's the business I want you to build. So I'm not going to ask for your opinions on Terry, because I refuse to have my space to be used for anything other than learning opportunities. So I am going to ask, what have you learned from this situation? What did you not know about that I've just told you about? If you're a home baker and you're trying to turn your baking into an actual business rather than just a really expensive hobby, subscribe to my YouTube. There's tons of stuff on there now, because that's what we talk about all the time around here. The baking, the business, the numbers, the mistakes, and occasionally I'll have a little rant, right? I am Janine Ogden, and I will see you next time. Go and have a look at my other videos. Happy baking.